I started out my journey, entrepreneurial journey in spring of 2020. And I just want to emphasize how much God played a role in this, that I was working for a museum. And I remember we all went home for COVID. And prior to, I think it was a bit before that, God had started prepping me at my former job. And he said, do some podcasting. My boss said, do some podcasting. I want a podcast for the museum. And I said, I don't know anything about podcasting. Didn't realize that was God was in the plan all along, right? All along. I said, okay, let me do some research. I said, and that's what I did research, bought a mic, and started to learn how to edit. Started making music for the for the theme music, started interviewing folk, and that's how it started. And so when God said to me, start the business, I said, okay, Lord, I'm going to start the business. And I did. And he gave me the name for it. And he said, it's going to be about communication. And I said, okay, all right. And I remember clearly I was driving home from the dentist, and he told me it was in May, and he said, pull over. You're going to give your notice to the job because we're still working from home. And I said, what do you mean, Lord? He said, you're giving your notice today. And I was like, is this me or is this guy? And I remember I was like, okay. He said, pull over to the park. I don't even want you to drive home. Pull over in this park and get out of the car and call her and let her know you're leaving. And that's what I did. I said, God has called me to do something else. And I gave my resignation. I gave him a month's notice, and the journey began. And he said, start off doing a podcast, started a podcast for God's Promises Media, and then another podcast. And in this time, what I didn't realize is that I was like, oh, I thought this was going to take off immediately and everything was going to be so great and the money would flow in. And I was like, oh, and God's like, oh my goodness, my daughter, she is so naive, right? So not realizing that there were issues that he had to work with me on. And one of those issues, and thank God, again, I'll go back to Dare Dream. I was lonely. I needed someone to talk to. God was there at all times. So I was like, Lord, I need somebody else. I love you, but I need other people. And I did the research, found Alicia. And then that started with me as far as because I was doing more producing as far as the podcast at my former job, but now it was time for me to step up to host. And Alicia was one of the guests, and so was Chris Woods. And the journey was awesome. It was hard. But here's the greatness of God, because that's what I want to emphasize. The greatness of God is this, that as I was going along, as I'm going on this journey, he would give me seasons. The first season, he said, you're in a season of wonderment. And I was like, what is that? I've never heard of a season of wonderment. And it was beautiful. Like everything I needed, right? He would give to me. I would look at, he would say, okay, go to find a podcast hosting site. I would go there. And I was like, oh, that's too much money. I don't want to spend that money. I'm going to admit somebody. I don't want to spend that money. And so I would go back, and it was on sale. Like they had a sale. And so I would then, right? So like those are the kinds of the things he would do in that season. And I was like, this is so fabulous. And it was wonderful. And then I remember he said, okay, now you're going to go into a season. And that's when I found Alicia in that season of wonderment. And then you're going to a season of discovery. Now that one was hard. That one was not fun. It just wasn't. I wanted it to be like wonderment, but it was not, because he started like peeling things off of me, right? Through business. He was like, why are you chasing after the God in me and someone else instead of chasing after me? Because you see the glory in someone else and what they're doing in their business. You're comparing yourself, you're chasing after the God in them, but you're supposed to be chasing after me. That was big. that was big. That was big. That was big. And during that period of time, he was just stripping me, which was wonderful because I needed to, because I couldn't be here now where I am if he hadn't done that along the path. And so now I'm in a season of waking up. He's awakening. So this is a season where I'm more secure about who I am and what I'm doing. And what I'm doing now is I'm a certified active listener. I help people declutter the noise in their life. I am was trained and have certification, but I've been doing it all of my life. I have a gifting for it. I've been doing it since I was a little girl. I just didn't have the training and certification with it. And so one day I saw a journalist on the Today Show, and she was talking about this thing called active listening. And I said, oh my gosh, that's what I do. I've been doing this for years. That's me. That's me. And I said, I have to find out what this is. And so just like you, Alicia, iterations, right? I went through iterations. That was me. And so now I'm at a place where the gifting and the skill has come together. And I don't look at other people and say, oh, and compare myself and like, oh, that maybe that's what I should be doing. Maybe that's what I should be doing. I know like this is knit in the fabric of who I am. And this is the calling and the gifting. And he's given me the confirmation over and over again. Do not give up. This is where you are. And this is what you're supposed to be doing. So that's what I wanted to share with you. God is in the plan. He's in the details. I don't like when people say the devil is in the details. No, God is in the details. He made, every one of us, right? He made us from nothing. He is in the details. And so when we look at that and we focus on him, even though this journey can be rough, at times, if we don't give up on him and what he's called us to do, he won't give up on us and we'll find our way.